You are on India Today podcasts and you are in the Sledging Room. They're keeping us very hydrated with a lot of water today. It's getting warmer in Delhi, around Noida. It's nice. It's a change of weather. I mean,
we want to credit our producer for this.
Yeah, thanks Anna for the lovely bottles of water. Next time some coffee would be. We'll bring some nice
Homely
coffee.
vibes.
Yeah. In fact, somebody got me some really nice coffee from Vietnam. A friend of mine.
You fell ill after that.
No.
A couple of days.
No. I've had that coffee. It's really nice. Next time I'll just get it on the studio. All of us could have some as we discuss more and more burning issues around Indian cricket, but not necessarily burning issues. So these are happy tides because just last week, in fact, the Women's Premier League was officially announced, launched. Broadcasters' rights were sold. Teams, franchisees were sold, and incredible news, really. We've been talking about the Women's Premier League for years now. Everybody said it would be the WIPL, Women's Indian Premier League, and BCCI made some very smart decisions and some good value-based judgments. Why call it the Women's Indian Premier League? We'll call it the Women's Premier League, right? So for the uninitiated, it was broadcast rights were sold for 951 crores, which makes the WPL the second most expensive league in the world for broadcasters if you look at per match valuation, 7 crore per match. Priya, she's been smiling and beaming over the last few days. Obviously, Priya has been on the Sledging Room before, and she's a strong advocate of women's cricket. She's also a strong critique of women's cricket. We don't have to be politically, diplomatically correct all the time. There's no need to be politically correct. I mean, if you're politically correct, the Sledging Room is not the place to be.
Exactly. If you were politically correct, you would have been fair to Virat Kohli.
I'm always fair to Indian cricket. That is my point. My virtues lie in the fact that I'm honest about what I want for Indian cricket, and I will scream from the rooftop, no matter what sort of agenda you bring into these studios. That's okay. Yeah. That's part of who you are, agenda driven. But that's okay. Because Priya's coming back after a bit. But Priya, these are staggering numbers. Nearly 4,700 crore spent on these teams. Ahmedabad, obviously the most expensive, over 1,200 crore. Then you have Delhi, Bangalore, Lucknow, and where am I missing out? Which Delhi I mentioned Delhi.
Bengaluru.
Mumbai, Bengaluru.
So Mumbai, Bengaluru. These are interesting times, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I was watching this interview at the Cricket Australia Awards, right? Mitchell Stark's wife, Alicia Healy, who's also a reputed cricketer, was asked whether you'd like to go to RCB like Mitchell. And she said, I'd be happy with any franchisee. But yeah, sure, RCB would be good. So this is what you wanted to see.
And it's also a good place to, test how IPL can survive without the Chennai Super Kings, right?
And even KKR.
Even KKR. But Priya, you've been happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah? But before I express my happiness, BCCI named it Women's Premier League. So Pakistan players are allowed?
No,
I don't think Pakistan.
Why not?
Why?
It's not Women's Indian Premier League. No, it's Women's Premier League. So let's just call
hosted
Pakistan
by the
players.
BCCI. And by the way, what would the Pakistan women's cricketers come and do anyway? They don't win matches. They don't win international matches. When was the last time they won a World Cup match? Why would you? I mean, women's cricket is centered around England, Australia, New Zealand, West Indies, and to an extent South Africa.
They defeated India, I think.
When?
Yeah, in Asia Cup.
No, that was the Asia Cup. I'm talking about their overall
India
impact.
Are also important.
No, it's fair enough.
Like you said,
I quite stand with this. I quite stand with this.
Like you said,
we don't want. You can't have Pakistan cricketers playing in the Indian Premier League or in the Women's Premier League, given what's happening across. So no, that's okay, and I completely respect the government's decision. That there is no two ways for me about that.
Yeah,
there's no two ways because obviously because of those political tensions. So
it'd be fun if some Babar Azam comes and plays, but only when things improve.
But he only prefers flat wickets.
Yeah.
Priyana Babs. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, but yeah, you should be. This is I know you've covered women's cricket for a bit, Priya. You've spoken to a lot of women's cricketers. Tell us what is the mood in the fraternity. You've done 2 interviews. You spoke to Sudha Shah. You've spoken to Shubhangi Kulkarni. What is the mood like, and how are you feeling as a woman journalist who's covered the sport for a few years now?
People are excited. I mean, women cricketers are excited about it.
No, so am I. I mean, even male journalists are excited. We are all excited.
Yeah, because male journalists who never, covered women's cricket. I'm not talking about people specifically.
A section of...
Yeah, I'm talking pan-India. So now they are talking about women's cricket. So
I hope you're not talking about me because I've covered women's cricket.
It's a good sign. It's a
made
good
a few
sign.
people sit up and take notice. That's what it's intended to do, means it's serving its purpose, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Women cricketers are, happy about it. They see it. They see that there are opportunities coming in, not just for, players, even in support staff and other, even media managing roles or any other media operations. All doors are open now.
That's what IPL did like 14 years ago, right? It provided, stability, income to people who where otherwise would not get it.
It did. I mean, it opened up a whole new ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
It opened up a whole new market. But, and Priya, but why were you were also a little bit of a complaining mode. Why?
So,
I mean, yesterday when we were talking, but why did this suddenly strike you as something negative?
So before I, open this complaining part, first I'll give a little context to it. BCCI just launched it now, but in 2023. But in 2010, Shubhangi Kulkarni, former India captain, cricketer and administrator, she was also the secretary of Women's Cricket Association of India. So she pitched this idea to Lalit Modi, who was the first chairman of IPL, and he was actually interested in it. They were planning to host a one-off exhibition match to, just see the market value and everything.
This was way back in 2010.
2010 March, yeah. But then he was sacked. Modi was sacked, and the idea was, just shelved away. And BCCI being the all-male body, they didn't care about it much until 2017 when, we had this COA, Diana Adalji, another former cricketer, captain. She was there. Even Anurag Thakur was there initially. So they were interested in women's cricket, to support them.
2018, if I'm not wrong, was the first time Women's T20 Challenge was played. The 4 teams.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
3 teams.
No, but that's okay. I mean, there will always be a seed, right? I mean, look at the Indian Premier League, right? Launched in 2008. Before that, you had the Indian Cricket League, Rebel series, players were banned, this happened, that happened. But here's the thing. The Indian Premier League, by the way, the concept was first discussed by Lalit Modi in 1996. They said it would be a 50-over format, right? But it was apparently shot down.
I don't even think the BCCI believed in T20 format, right?
No, I mean 1996. Originally,
even until 2005, 2006.
Yeah, originally it was scheduled to be a 50-over format. I mean, Priya and I had this discussion yesterday. She was writing this piece, and she said, "No, this delay has caused harm." So my point is, what harm? Look, if the BCCI had taken up that, that recommendation in 1996, where would that have gone? 50-over format. Can you imagine watching a 50-over league day in and day out for 2 months?
See, first, we can't compare men's cricket to women's cricket.
Yeah.
Because we always had a number of men cricketers as compared to women cricketers. Because of lack of opportunities and money, a lot of girls left in between and they got married and, family pressure and a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
So now when they started getting in money and women's cricket came under the BCCI fold, that is when they could have, launched it to create more bench strength.
No, but again, Priya,
that's one thing. That's one thing, Raj. When BCCI, I think there were reports suggesting that BCCI had said they were a little reluctant to get this going because there was no depth in women's cricket.
No, but then
where did the depth come from?
Now just imagine if Mithali Raj, if she had got married before 2017. I don't think that, women's cricket could have got this much popularity or, the fan base, because Mithali Raj She stood. She was a flag bearer.
No, but Priya, with all due respect to Mithali Raj and Jhulan Goswami, legends. I mean, that's all right. But here's the thing, right? For you to launch something of this magnitude, you need to test the waters. So what the BCCI did was, over the last 3 or 4 years, they tested the waters. Look at it this way. You said, they've caused harm by not launching it earlier. I think this is the perfect time. Why? Remember in 2008 when the Indian Premier League was launched, when the first edition was played, there were a lot of naysayers. Everybody said, what is this going to do? You don't have, how can you suddenly build franchisee-based loyalty? Unlike football, it's very difficult to get there. Manchester United, for instance, has been around for decades. You can't get the same feel around a Barcelona, around a KKR that you would get around Barcelona. All of that, blah, blah, blah. But look what happened. Eventually, if I remember correct, I mean, I am not sure, but I think if my memory serves me right, Bollywood movies, some of the producers there were a little nervous about releasing those movies in the middle of an IPL season. Even now. How many big releases would you get around the middle of the IPL? So that is what the IPL did. It radically transformed not just Indian cricket, also world cricket. It gave an avenue.
The same thing would have happened.
I'll tell you why not. Because you just said that there is a difference between men's cricket and women's cricket. And I'm not, there is, in all fairness, the Indian women cricketers have done remarkably well. And obviously they came up the ladder in 2017 when they lost that World Cup final. But Priya, before that, you go back to 2005, they also lost a World Cup final in South Africa. Look, you have to win World Cups, right? You have to win titles. Why do we criticize this Indian limited overs team? Because they've not been winning these limited overs titles. They're not winning ICC tournaments. And that is why we're going to start, we will keep asking questions. When did Indian men's cricket, when did Indian cricket really radicalize financially, commercially? When did it start becoming a powerhouse? After 1983. Right?
Correct.
So that is what, even with women's cricket, by the way, you think if it had launched 6, 7, 10 years back, I don't think it would have gotten this kind of traction. 951 crore for broadcast rights, nearly 47 crore spent on 5 teams being bought.
Yeah. I would certainly agree with both of your points and disagree with certain points, but I would disagree with one of your points saying that BCCI tested waters over the last 4 years.
Why not?
BCCI have basically waited for overseas leagues to find success. They have been seeing women's BBL being a big success. It's unfair to say that, BCCI tested waters.
But in BCCI's defense, they also let their cricketers go and play.
Bilkul, at least that is the least that they could have done, right? That is the least that they could have done.
Which is fair enough. You're building a base.
Yeah.
You're building a base. Look,
but it's BCCI basically took a safe route.
But Akshay,
instead of taking the bolder route.
Had they stopped their women cricketers from participating, that would be embarrassing. Embarrassing on BCCI's
okay, both
part.
Both of you tell me this, right? Why do we have to look at sport, professional sport, as charity? Right? I'll ask this question. Obviously, I do come up with these provoking questions. Does not mean that I'm disrespecting any format. But here's the thing. Like I said, 83 onward, Indian cricket radically changed. There was commerce, there was finance. By 1996, when that World Cup deal came to India, when India co-hosted that World Cup, things had again, we had taken things to the next level. That is where that Lalit Modi proposal came in 1996. By 2008, it was completely different. In 2007, we had won the T20 World Cup. Before that, we did not take the T20 format seriously. The 3 senior cricketers sat out of the T20 World Cup. And then it went from momentum to momentum. Now, here's the thing. Women's cricket has started peaking over the last 6 or 7 years in this country. Before 2017, fine you mentioned Mithali, fine you mentioned Jhulan. How many of these women's cricketers who were playing, working so hard, day in and day out, in poor infrastructure,
Correct.
how many of them were spoken about in the media? How many of them
and
were
also
celebrated in the media?
It coincides with the boom of social
matches
media.
Were broadcast, exactly.
And the proliferation of internet in the country, right?
Look, and you speak to some of these women cricketers, some of the very senior women's cricketers, they will also tell you that, look, pay parity, all of the talk is all right, but you can only take those conversations seriously when you also start winning regularly, when you also start bringing in the money.
Smriti Mandhana
that is important.
Smriti Mandhana once pointed out that I would not ask for pay parity now. Only when we generate revenue,
Not
I would talk about it.
Mithali
right?
has also said that several times.
I don't know whether to agree with her or disagree with her, but that's her viewpoint there.
See,
agree.
India
agree with
reached finals thrice. They fell short at the end. Why? We need to think that why? Because there was no bench strength, there was no
No, even the
infrastructure.
men's team keeps falling short sometimes. At least the women,
that's a different point.
Women teams at least are reaching the finals. The men's team is not. They have the men's team is not even reaching the finals there.
Asia Cup final.
Asia Cup final. You reach the final of the World Test
Because
Championship.
men cricketers prefer IPL over international cricket.
No, again, that would be a sweeping statement. That would be a sweeping statement.
We have discussed
No.
that quite a few times.
No, I mean,
in the past,
those are we have to. I keep telling you, even when you throwing in those punches.
See,
you have to-
if someone told me,
Ah.
I would think on these lines. If someone told me that you would get 20 crores for playing one season of IPL, and then you would have to wait, like you would have to do the 10-year hard work to play one test
No,
for
but
India.
then if you are only, you can't
youngsters-
treat it like tennis.
youngsters in
you
this
can't
generation-
you can't treat cricket like
Gen
tennis.
Zs will
where
think like
I'm
that.
not
Even
playing.
Yuvraj Singh has time and again said that these days young male cricketers prefer IPL over domestics,
Yeah,
Ranji
Gen
or
Zs like us will
because
think that only,
people
right?
people
Money, easy
want
money.
money. Money is everything.
No, but that is no. But what you
people
guys
of
are
your
discussing,
generation-
what
people
you
of
guys
your
are talking
generation
about.
might think differently, but Gen Zs like me.
No, but that's okay. Even people of my generation, they have also played the IPL, right? They have also played Test cricket. Some of the IPL stars, for instance, do better in Test cricket than in T20 cricket for India.
David Warner-
Rishabh Pant, for example.
David Warner today said one very interesting
Yeah.
thing, that youngsters who are looking to play T20 franchise-based T20 leagues are okay. They have their own set of goals and all that. But when you want to have a lasting legacy, you have to play the red ball format.
No, that's okay. I mean, I think we're just, because we're
It's
going to be
dwindling,
so
yeah.
passionate, we're just going from North Pole to South Pole straight up. But the point is, what Priya and Akshay are saying is that the Women's Premier League should have launched a few years back.
Yeah.
It
I'm
had
saying-
the scope to launch a few.
It
years.
had.
I'm saying it's the perfect time because, again, you're talking of scope, but you're also talking of market opportunities. You're also talking of interest, consumer interest. By the way, India and South Africa, was it? India and Australia played a bilateral series at home. Tickets were given out for free.
Now here BCCI is to be, BCCI are responsible for this.
How?
They should have, see.
If you
people-
don't want to buy tickets to a particular match, how should the
if
organizers
you
be
never
responsible?
if you never offer a ticket, how will
But
you
it
know?
was offered. Even with free tickets, by the way, there was some.
But I
empty
think
stands.
unlike men's cricket, women's cricket should be played in popular centers like
Not
Bengaluru.
only popular centers. Look,
Chennai.
okay, now since you're bringing this up, I also think that women's cricket in India, you're talking, you just
Popular
compared the
centers,
Big
I mean,
Bash
I'm
League.
not saying that
you
big
compared,
cities.
You brought in the Big Bash League. Do our women cricketers have the same power hitting game as
Harmanpreet-
Australia and England?
Harmanpreet
Do all of them
has-
do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, Harmanpreet-
I don't think so. Then why do you? No.
Women's cricket is not entirely a power game.
It is from Australia and England. It is from the way some of the West Indies girls play. It is not. Look, you have to be. Look, reaching finals with this scope is not going to be enough after a point of time, right? They have done that since 2017. 2017 happened, then what? 2020, the T20 World Cup final.
But the Under-19 World Cup win is a very huge
it is
step,
a huge,
right?
significant win, and that is why I was talking
And
about
that is
yesterday.
what I'm saying. Where
It
is the
is
depth,
huge.
and how did you suddenly find the depth to beat the best teams in the world?
No. But again, no. You can't.
in that regard, what BCCI
But
was
that-
arguing,
Here-
was
here-
reportedly arguing,
what that means
is
is
rubbish, right?
that the depth at the grassroots level
Is there.
BCCI never
And-
checked the grassroots level.
Yeah.
There
No,
was
but it
depth.
is-
See, if when women's cricket came under BCCI fold, what was the first thing that BCCI did? They just stopped off under 60 tournaments. When you cut the crop, how
No,
will
but
you
Priya,
get?
Okay, now the point to note is, isn't women's cricket in India now, let me know if both of you are in agreement, is now going from strength to strength. What has happened in the past? Unfortunate, right? What has happened has happened. Also, women's cricket came under the BCCI ambit just a few years back. That has also made a difference.
Yeah.
Right? The money has made a difference. The career path has made a difference. You mentioned a lot of these women cricketers quit at the peak of their careers, took other career opportunities. Fair enough, you would do that. If there is not enough money coming in, you would do that. Had it been the same with men's cricket, a lot of them would have done that.
But how are you saying that if the IPL had started 5 years ago,
No,
there would have been no financial
because you
security?
need to test waters, boss. You need to test
BBL
waters before
BBL has done
2017.
it.
No, BBL.
England-
they're different
England have
markets.
done it.
They're different markets.
Australia-
Where do you get more crowds for
Where was
cricket
the India
matches?
versus Australia final held at the MCG?
MCG.
It was a packed ground,
Yes.
boss.
Do you think Mumbai
90,000
wouldn't have
people.
had
I don't.
a T20 World Cup final?
You
Mumbai wouldn't have got that
don't
much
even
crowd.
get packed crowds in
For a
India,
T20 World Cup final.
for bilateral series, for bilateral matches, high-octane bilateral matches in India, you get packed crowds for women's cricket matches overseas. You have to talk about consumer interest. It is very, very easy to thrash the media, to thrash the board, and say you're not covering enough women's
But
cricket.
when we-
you're not, doing enough for women's cricket.
But
it has been done.
when we see the data presented by ICC, viewership in the last few years, the viewership has peaked. It has gone above.
Fair enough. Again, that viewership has...
And most of it came from India.
Exactly. So that is
So
where
people
you...
were interested. BCCI
Priya,
neglected it.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I am not just BCCI, right? You are BCCI, for instance. Now, I am a big industry house. I'm a big corporate house. I'm now looking to spend 1,200, 1,400 crore on a team. Would you just come to me and say, hey, look, you know what? I have ICC figures and we need to do the right thing. Let's just launch a Women's Premier League. It is not just up to the BCCI. It is also up to the stakeholders or shareholders, people who are going to pump
Even
the
in
money.
last few years,
maybe
2010, maybe after the 2017 World Cup
Yeah.
final, we could have tried something.
Not immediately.
because
Again, not immediately.
after 2017 we reached semi-finals in T20 World Cup in
And that
West
was also the
Indies.
time
That
when
was-
social
That
media
was a
booming.
controversial thing.
20
And
No.
we were given out free SIM cards by a lot of retailers, right?
2017
Yeah.
ODI World Cup final, 2018 T20 World Cup final, right? Semi-final.
Semi-finals.
2020 T20 World
Finals.
Cup final again.
Final.
Then after that, the emergence of some very, very young good cricketers. Richa Ghosh, you had Shafali.
And see, these two, Richa
but
and
they are also coming up from the domestic circuit, right? They are also coming up.
Shafali is a find of women's those women's T20 challenge.
Those exhibition matches,
Those
yeah.
exhibition matches.
Yeah.
She is a find of that.
But that is what I'm saying.
No,
that
no,
this
just
has
see.
created a base. This has created a base, right? So you have to create a base. Look, the Indian Premier League, again, like I'm saying, it was first pitched when in 1996. Why was it shot down? Why was it shot down? Why did it take 12 years for the Indian Premier League to come into fruition? There were challenges as well, right? You couldn't have you go back and read reports from that time, because I remember I had started my career back then, and lot of experts would shoot it down as like, what is this Indian Premier League? What is this T20 cricket? What is this colored nonsense happening? Bollywood cricket mixing together. Nobody would have thought the Indian Premier League would become this big. It is
now
it is
when
big.
it has now that it has become this big IPL, so had BCCI invested in women's IPL that time, we also
therein where you're wrong. You cannot ride on the wave of the IPL to launch another league. That is not how it works in this market. The way it works is that you have
That is
to
true.
make your analysis, do your comparison, look at consumer interest. Again, so what you're saying is, just because you have packed stadiums for the Indian Premier League, just because you have record TRPs for the Indian Premier League, means there will be equal interest. It's not the case. We've seen that. We have often discussed that look, it's a shame that some people are not really going in to watch these matches, some of these very high-octane matches. I mean, Smriti Mandhana is a favorite, not just because I'm not going to classify her as a women's cricketer. I'm just going to talk about her as a cricketer. I love Smriti Mandhana. I'm a huge Shafali Verma fan, not because she led us to World Cup glory, but also of the way she played in Bristol on her debut. See, I thought she was fantastic. Some of the more accomplished cricketers should learn from the panache that she brought on the field. I thought she was fantastic. I love that character. But it is not the same, Priya. You have to have that market understanding. You have to have that consumer interest.
It would be great if the BCCI publishes the findings of, if they had done one market analysis before launching this.
No, I mean, why would they do that?
Why-
It's okay.
why
And
the sudden
the
change of
results are
mind?
there. The results are there that broadcasters are now willing to spend 951 crores. And you have sold 5 teams worth 4,700 crore, almost 4,700 crore. That is the result of your analysis. And I think we should be celebrating this moment.
Yeah.
Right? What happens now is that you're not only going to talk about Smriti. You're not going to just talk about Harmanpreet. You're not going to talk about Richa Ghosh and Shafali, the young girls who are coming up. You're going to talk about future generational cricketers. I mean, Parshravi Chopra, how many of us would have spoken about?
even Sehrawat.
Sehrawat. I am admitting
better late than never.
I did not hear of them.
Yeah.
I did not hear of these girls. Great that women's cricket, the Under-19 World Cup, was covered that way. We did that on India.in every single match. We did that with the India matches. We have been covering stories on all these girls since Sunday evening. So, that is the interest. And by the way, those stories are also being read. There was a time when you would write stories on women's cricket, they wouldn't be read. So it is both ways, right? So is it to say that just because my audience is not reading stories on women's cricket, I'm not going to cover that? That is not how we thought. We thought, no, they are also representing India, so we're going to cover that. We're going to cover that. We covered the Sania Mirza Rohan Bopanna final with as much panache as we covered the Djokovic Tsitsipas final.
Yeah.
Why? Not just because she is, she's representing India. Bopanna and Sania Mirza are representing India. So we were not doing that to be politically correct. So imagine when finances are involved, when you are investing money, you're not going to be politically correct. You have to test the waters. And I think that's what they did. And I thought that was fair enough. And that is where it's gotten to. But I mean, now that we've gotten to women's cricket and we've gotten to finances, we're also going to have to look at numbers and discuss the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. We're just about 9 days out, less than 10 days out from the first test match between India and Australia. Intense rivalry, Akshay, Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Australia have won in India, 4 times overall since 1959. The Border-Gavaskar Trophy, India have been more dominant. Out of 15 Border-Gavaskar trophies, Australia have won 6, we have won 9. India won 9. Or maybe Australia won 5 and 1 was drawn somewhere.
1986 was...
No. I'm not talking about 86.
Okay,
I'm talking about Border-Gavaskar
Border-Gavaskar.
from the time it was
named Border-Gavaskar.
named Border-Gavaskar in 1996 to now. The last 3 series, India have won.
But looking at how the preparations are going on, I think it'll be Australia one more.
No, it's okay. Last 3 series, India. The last 2 series were played in Australia, which India won. Preparation का क्या है?
No, some of your cricketers are taking trips, holy trips. Some of them are enjoying holidays.
So
some of them are
Instead of, playing Ranji
doing
and all.
2-hour backyard training, it seems.
Even they could have
with
played
red ball
Ranji.
cricket. Yeah, whereas Australia, I've been reading
They managed
reports.
both Test as well as their BBL.
Yes, they recalled 3 of their spinners from the PBL final round and then made them play. They have had a spin camp, it seems, in Sydney, where they have simulated conditions, spin-friendly conditions, and they have worked on their pitches. That pitch so much.
I mean, those Indian preparation has never worked that way. I mean, I was
But
wondering
at
whether
least
KL
you
Rahul
prepare,
could have
right?
played the quarterfinal, whether Jadeja should have played the quarterfinal for Saurashtra as well, whether Shami should have played for Bengal. But then a lot of you will argue that no, look, the quarterfinals are only getting over on the 4th, India starting their test match on the 9th. So,
But at least Jadeja got some match time.
Yeah.
you think that's enough in a Ranji game?
Coming from an injury.
Coming from an injury layoff for nearly 6-7 months. That was the last time he played was in the Asia Cup in the middle of
I think he didn't want to put so much pressure on his knee.
Yeah.
That's also main thing.
If he does play that first test match, there'll be a lot more pressure on his knee. And
So what
And
are
the
you
joints,
saying,
right?
Raj? Do you think India have prepared enough? Or
I'm
do
saying
they need
this is
preparations?
typical home preparation. But I'm a little worried because of this Australian team player.
Yeah.
Not only did they play those test series in Pakistan, which they won,
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
flat pitch. I mean, those pitches were embarrassing, but they still, Australia still triumphed there. Sri Lanka won 1 draw. Then we were talking about how they've prepared in Sydney. They've
Used SG balls to prepare.
used SG balls and they've been those pitches, raging turners. They're prepared. As you would expect an Australian team.
And they're
They were
coming to
also
Bangalore
They're coming to Bangalore.
for a 4-day training camp.
And we are starting our 5-day training camp just in a
in
few
Nagpur,
days.
no?
Sida in Nagpur.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little disorienting when you watch it from the sidelines. But that's how India have always prepared for their home
But
test.
the biggest concern is Rohit Sharma. The last test he played was against Sri Lanka at home. Since then, he hasn't played any test.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that he missed England test and then Bangladesh.
I hope he's fit for the test
Yeah.
series.
That's the biggest concern.
I
Yeah.
hope Shreyas Iyer is fit for the test series. I mean, you have what? Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill.
You
Hopefully,
already
Shubman
don't
Gill
have
ahead
the
of KL
biggest
Rahul.
match winner.
Rishabh Pant is out.
Yeah.
Pujara, Virat. And then if Shreyas is not fit for the test matches, that will be a blow and a half. Then hopefully India will play Kona Bharat ahead of Ishan Kishan. That's going to be another thing that we have to look at. And then hopefully Jadeja will be fit enough to come in at number 7. Ashwin, Aksar if they're playing 3 spinners. And then Siraj and Shami, I believe. Or Umesh and Shami to partner the paces. But the point is that this Australian team is so potent, right? They've won, they've won everything in Australia. And I think they get a lot of confidence from what they did in the subcontinent. Exactly
And their
6 years back.
opening combination when 2017 wasn't that great, but Usman
Yeah.
Khawaja
So
is in the
Matt
form of his
Fanshawe,
life.
Yeah. Usman
Which
Khawaja.
is in the form of his life.
Terrific.
Warner
form.
is also coming on the back of
Warner-
100.
Double 100.
I don't
double
think.
100.
I hope Warner doesn't escape the Ashwin Rath this time. Left arm around the wicket, over the wicket.
I mean, there will be a lot of differences between this team and the last
Yeah.
team here.
Yeah,
to-
absolutely.
Look
Marnus
at
is
Manas Labuschagne.
the
is
world.
there.
They have a world number 1 test batter now.
You Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Travis Head.
Yeah.
Don't forget Travis Head. He's been in super fun. He's a
Cam
very
Green,
good player.
Cam Green can play
Cam
spin.
Green, he'll play as a specialist batter.
I don't know. Again, if he can't bowl, will he play?
Yeah.
He's an
Coach-
all-round.
Coach
But
McDermott-
Yeah,
he
he might-
hinted. He
Yeah.
hinted.
Because again, I think they'll look at his experience against India. He made his debut against India
Yes.
in that
in a completely
high
different
octane
format,
series.
yeah.
But again, every time you talk about India, Australia, Priya, about 2 years back, India had gone to Australia, huge defeat in Adelaide, the day-night test match, 36 all out.
Yeah.
But the way they came back,
Yeah.
debutants, rookies, guys who hadn't played a lot of tests,
Hmm.
by the time they went to Brisbane,
Yeah.
you had a bowling attack which probably had a combined experience of 2 or 3 test matches.
But many of those players from that team are not here right
They're
now.
not there.
Rishabh is not
Washington
there.
Sundar is not part of this
importantly-
team.
More importantly, I am being very blunt here.
Huh.
This Rahul Dravid-led coaching setup is not the same setup. that was under Ravi
Exactly.
Shastri.
You know that Ravi
And
Shastri.
we have seen how they have fared under
100%.
tests since Dravid has come.
100%.
So that's a big worry for me personally.
In fact, I was talking to you about this. I mean, just bringing in Ravi Shastri and Bharatan
Yeah.
would send shivers down Australian
Yes.
spines because
Yes.
that is the combination that really brought those 2 test series victories.
Brought the fortress down. Gava
Exactly.
fortress
And
down.
ever since Rahul Dravid has taken over along with his
Yeah.
staff, those losses in South Africa, then in
Yes,
England,
yes.
it's not been the same team anymore. And you need a little
Even
bit
in
of...
Bangladesh, that second test,
Yes.
how
Yeah, we almost
won.
fumbled.
Yeah.
We almost fumbled. So...
And against Nathan Lyon will be licking his lips, I think. Because India's ability to play spin, apart from, say, Rohit Sharma,
yeah.
Shreyas Iyer, Pujara, and R. Ashwin, has dwindled a lot.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Virat Kohli, we saw how he struggled against Santner.
But again, Nathan Lyon's strike rate in India hasn't been the most impressive. Over
Yeah, but
30,
someone
so-
called Steve O'Keefe came last time.
True.
So
I mean, there have been
Ashton
spinners.
Agar-
Some Australian spinners have come and done remarkably. Jason Pressure.
Kreja,
But
Nathan
again,
Horrocks.
yeah, some of them can. And we
certain
have
guy
Mitchell
called-
Swepson this time.
Yes.
Leg spin, India. We'll,
But one thing
our
Australia
batters-
shouldn't forget is what their pacers did, what Gillespie and McGrath did in 2004, and what Umesh Yadav did in 2017. Pace is going to be as important as spin. And
No,
you
I-
need that pace to put pressure and allow the spinners to express themselves.
I agree.
If your pacer leaks runs.
And Pacers have done well, like
Yeah.
you said.
But you don't have to say that to Josh Hazelwood, Pat Cummins, and
But
Mitchell
India's
Starc.
top order is little weak
Yeah.
right now because KL Rahul, the mode of his dismissal is
Yeah.
quite a debate.
Anyway, this
But this
will-
is going to be a challenging series.
This will be a challenging series, and I hope this is a really thrilling, nail-biting, adrenaline-fueled series. Like
a couple
you've
of brain fades also.
gotten used to with India-Australia encounters.
couple of brain fades, couple of controversies.
Yeah, but we'll save some of the fire for next week. Closer to the first Test match, we'll come back.
And if not
hammer.
Shastri as a coach, at least we'll have Shastri as a commentator giving those.
Impressive.
Shastri as commentator will benefit the viewers, but not the team, right?
Yeah, that's
No, you
also
never know.
there.
Maybe some of those players can go and have a quick chat.
It's a
But
quick chat, yeah.
But current players are not used to discussing, talking to
seniors.
seniors.
we'll take this offline and come back with some more punches and fire next week.
Predict the scoreline before.
I think 2-1, India 2-1.
I think it's one match will be a draw. So I think 2-1 and a draw.
India 4-0.
This is Trinity. We'll see. If you agree with Akshay, Priya, or me, whoever.
But my
You
2-1
can-
is in favor of Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You let the viewers now and
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
and the listeners decide whether they want to agree with us, what their score lines are on pods@indiatoday.com. You know that. You can also ping us on 8588966996, and you also know if you want to rate us, you can do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other listening devices and platforms that you are on. And also something that I always mention that I know we are on YouTube, we know that we are on videos, but do listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts because it makes life so much easier when you're
Can we
watching.
get onto this chat GPT?
And do what?
Everything's about chat GPT these
You
days.
are my chat GPT. But
throwing
no, some
all
of your
answers.
inputs are very, very contorted and manipulated. But that's all then. That's all that we have.
Yeah.
That's all that we have for now. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll be back with a lot more next week on the Sledging Room.
Thank you.
You are on India Today Podcasts, and you are in the Sledging Room.